My name is Fred Dodson, and in this presentation I'm going to talk about being present and how that relates to increased energy, increased success. We hear many people talking about being in the now or being here and now, a concept they've derived from various self-improvement and religious teachings. And it's kind of nonsensical because you can't help but be in the now. Where else are you going to be? Okay, you're always, in a way, in the now. So people ask me, what does that mean, being present, being in the now? And it also, if you take it too rigidly as a religion, it creates a split between the supposed past and the future. Because if you keep emphasizing the now, the now, the now, there's also a future and a past. So what do us teachers of consciousness really mean when we say be in the now or be present? What we mean is a heightened state of awareness. Have you noticed how throughout your day, throughout your whole life actually, there's this radio inside your mind, this circus, all these stories you keep replaying in your mind. Do you know why these stories replay? Do you know why all these thoughts keep passing through your consciousness? Well, I have an interesting and quite life-transforming explanation for you. Thoughts keep repeating in your mind because they were recorded at a time when you were more present than you are now. It's a remarkable statement, so I'll repeat it. Thoughts keep repeating in your mind because they were recorded at a time you were more clear, aware, fascinated, interested, present than now. Okay? And as you know from your own experience, if this thinking and overthinking and overanalyzing and going back into memory, going back into your stories gets too much, it becomes emotionally bothersome. And in a sense, you keep recreating the past. And that's why I teach presence, becoming more present so that you elevate your emotional state and also your situational awareness of what's actually going on, so that you come closer to the truth of timelessness, the truth of timeless consciousness, which feels very different than perceiving everything through the mind, through the filters of the past. So, an interesting thing happens. Many interesting things happen when you train the ability to be more present in the so-called now. For one, let's try it together right now, okay? Let's just do this together. Become aware of your present surroundings. That includes your own body sense. It includes what you hear and see. Now, depending on how much mind garbage and subconscious garbage you have running, you'll be able to maintain this here now state fully or a little bit. And if you have a lot going on in your life at the moment, you won't be able to stay present. You'll be able to focus or remain aware for about 10 minutes maybe before you start daydreaming again, or you start going back into stories. It's a scientific fact that most people's attention span goes for about 10 to 20 minutes, which is why most of my videos go 10 to 20 minutes, by the way. And then they revert back into the stories of their mind, because it appears as if the present moment is just not as interesting as some mind movie. Okay? What I'm teaching you here is going to have profound effects on your happiness, so listen up. Now, as you remain aware of the present, slowing down your breathing deliberately, you might notice how once in a while stories of your mind creep up that try to take you into the past. So what normally happens at first in presence practice is that negative memories come up, memories of past upsets, injustices, traumas. And in that case, if you're doing this presence practice, you endeavor to bring your attention back to the now and away from these memories. And if you do that, you'll notice something else interesting. You'll notice how your memory then provides more positive fantasies to try to get you away from the present. That's what often happens. So you didn't buy into the negative from the past, so it often provides increasingly positive memories. But for now, just try to stay completely present, your awareness kind of not internalized, but extroverted on what's going on in the present. Yes, it may include what's going on emotionally, but also check what's going on around you. What do you hear? What do you feel? What do you smell? Just get away from your mind stories for a moment. If you do this properly in walking or in sitting with eyes closed or open, eventually your mind is going to become fairly calm, fairly empty. And by empty mind, I don't mean lack of creativity or intelligence, okay? My mind is almost near empty, and it's full of creativity. Why? Because when your mind is empty, you receive data and information from higher realms, higher levels. Whereas if your mind is full with superficial stuff, with daily life rubbish and subconscious garbage, there's not much space and room in which to receive intuitive guidance. Okay, so that's why meditators keep seeking to empty their mind. But there's a hard and long way to empty your mind. That's meditation. And there's an easier and quicker way to empty it. That's by simply becoming more interested in the present. Now, an interesting effect of this is that as you are more present, you appear more interesting to others. Why is that? Present people are generally more interested, and as they are more interested, they look more interesting. Think about it for a moment. The people who you found interesting, why did you find them interesting? Why do you find interesting people interesting? It's something about their presence. You know, they enter a room and everybody looks at them. Everybody notices that they've just entered the room. And that's because these people are not split into many parts and many different times. They are totally and completely here with all their parts. Their entire soul is present in the room. And that's why they appear to have higher energy. You were interested, you thought people appear interesting because they were interested. They were interested in what's going on with you, interested in what's going on in the space they were in, and so forth. So, one of the great secrets of charismatic energy, power, is to be completely and totally at ease with the now, without trying to get away from it, without leaving into daydreaming, without resistance to or boredom with what is actually happening. If you've observed the mind and life in general, you'll notice that the reason you go into the stories of your mind is because you think that what is here now is not sufficient. You think what is here now is boring. Humans generally think that elsewhere is better, another time or another place. But that's not really true. Elsewhere, another time or another place is never better. You're not really looking for another place or time. What you're really looking for is a state, a heightened state of happiness. And that heightened state of happiness only occurs in the mindless spontaneity and fun of the present. You know, when you're kind of silly and having a good time and fun, those are the times when your mind is not active, when you're really involved in something without, sitting there trying to make sense of things or analyzing things. It's an over-analysis that takes away the fun in life. Nor is over-analysis effective in any way, okay? And when fun is taken away from your life, and appreciation is taken away from your life, life appears dull and bland. Coming into full presence means coming into timelessness. You see, the wider field of consciousness is actually timeless. Eternity, infinity, is timeless. And as you become timeless, you connect more with what is actually real and unchanging and reliable and stable. Everything changes all the time, you see. And if you place your reliance and your main focus on things that constantly change, that have a beginning and an ending, you're placing your reliance not on source, not on the creator, but on the created, on that which is limited in space or time. In this context, I'd also like to mention that time, space, and energy, as well as attention, they are interchangeable. As you increase one, you increase the other. So, paradoxically, the more time you take for something, the more time you feel you have. Have you ever felt time pressured to get something done, or under pressure to fix errands? Well, that's because you don't take the time. It's actually impatience itself that creates short time. Impatience itself creates time. Okay? But as you take time for someone, or for yourself, or for something, your feeling of having time expands. Because you become more present and more in control instead of being at the effect of external pressures. And that's something really precious to take with you from this presentation. Another example of this, I sometimes go to fast food restaurants, okay, in the idea of saving time because I'm too lazy to cook a proper meal. I'm too lazy to take the time to cook a meal, so I go to KFC or Pizza Hut or McDonald's in the idea that I'm going to save time. And I do save time, but there's something I don't save, and that's energy. Okay? Taking energy and time interchangeably, when I dedicate love to my food, or somebody who loves me makes my food, they're blessing the food, and blessed food gives you more energy than fast food, which is made without care for you personally, which is made without blessings, without love. So what happens, you go to McDonald's to save time, but you don't gain any energy. Whereas had you invested the time, you'd feel energy after you eat. So you see that cooking or going to some fast food joint turns out that the result is pretty much the same. In other words, you can't cheat life. Do you see what I'm saying? You cannot cheat life. Where there's more energy, there's more time, more attention, and more space. And that's why it's important to give people the space they deserve. Not to be impatient with people, not to be impatient with your business projects, not to be impatient with anything, and not to allow others to pressure you with their impatience. Okay? Because all this impatience and all this rush is killing off, is tightening your consciousness, killing off your aliveness and power, your sense of feeling and presence. Taking the time to feel, taking the time to close your eyes and look inside, taking the time for your children, taking the time for your spouse, taking the time because you have time. You see, as paradoxical as this sounds, when you become timeless, you have time. Time does not have you. Taking the time for long walks, taking the time to listen to music, taking the time to write, taking the time to speak when you want to speak with somebody, taking your time to examine issues that you'd like to examine, taking time for your goals. And when you take time, you suddenly feel you have time. If you do not take time for things, you feel pressured and lifeless all the time. Now, being present goes even deeper than this. It goes into higher levels of consciousness and energy. And I'll give you a piece of homework here to experience that. See if you can become increasingly present. Okay? So earlier when I said become present, You might have been peripherally aware of what's going on around you. But that state can be increased without effort, okay, without strain. For example, I see a huge tree in front of me, and I could be more intensely aware of that tree, give that tree even more time, focus on it in even more detail, become even more intimately connected to that tree, so to speak, or to the water, or to myself, or to another person. You can increase your sense of presence, and as you do so, your sense of aliveness, power, and well-being will increase. Why? Because all of your parts are fully there and appreciative. It's connected to love. Love and attention go hand in hand. My name is Fred Dodson. Thank you for looking and listening. And thank you for being present.